Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, aka Possibility Man. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Today, our guest is Malcolm Sword. Malcolm grew up in Australia, his home country, and during the 1980s, he began his professional career in the life insurance industry. By the 1990s, he decided to launch his own business, and he started selling home goods and commodities in Australia. Today, Malcolm Mal is widely known as a leader in the network marketing profession. He's also an author and an internationally known speaker. Malcolm, welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me, Stephen. Lovely to meet you.
Okay.
And, thank you very much for the invitation.
Fantastic. I want to ask you about Australia, but I want everyone to know that I heard you speak. I think it was either this year or last year, and you talked about Tanzania. And I thought, oh, I got to have him on the Possibility Action Network podcast. We'll get there in a moment, but I want to go back to Australia. Growing up, as a young man, did you see yourself getting into business, or was that something that hit you later on?
No, always I was interested in business. My father had been a very, very successful businessman from England. In fact, my heritage is Scottish.
Oh.
I was born in the United Kingdom, born in England, schooled there, and then my parents decided to emigrate in 1968 to Australia. And interestingly, my father sold his company to a very good friend of his by the name of Herman Lay, who was the founder of Lay's potato chips, or it used to be called Frito-Lays many years ago. And so when he sold that company, decided to live in Australia, my sister and I flew through the States, and we did stay with Herman and Mimi Lay in Dallas. This was early 1968. And I remember asking him at breakfast one morning. He was such a lovely man. And I asked him, I said, do you mind if I ask you how you've been so successful in business? And so I was probably around 12. So even at that age, I was interested in business. And he was such a nice man. He said to me, that's a really good question, young man. He said, I think, he said, the reason I've been so successful is that I've been able to surround myself with very good people. And one of the lessons I've learned in life is that in order to be able to surround yourself with very good people, you've got to be good people. Good people attract good people. And he was a wonderful human being. So from a very young age, that's kind of, that shows how far back, I guess, I've been interested in commerce, business, and the world of business. So it started very young for me.
That's fantastic. I want to go straight to Tanzania. I think the early 2000s. What led you to Tanzania in the early 2000s? Why were you there?
2004. Well, for 20 years prior to 2004, a friend of mine, one of my business partners, who he and I have been great mates for maybe 40 years now. For many years, we described or discussed doing adventures, going on adventures, and we made a list of things that we wanted to do, one of which was to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And so that came to fruition in 2004, September 2004, and we decided to climb the mountain. There was a group of us, but Keith, my ex-business partner, his then wife, Artie, and myself decided to climb Kilimanjaro. And so that was my first entry. That was first time really to experience Tanzania. That's when that happened, and then things have happened since then. But that was the first time that we went to Tanzania.
Okay, and apparently Tanzania got into your heart because of something that you witnessed during your visit. Can you tell us about that, please?
Sure. So we stayed in a little village prior to climbing Kilimanjaro. We stayed in a little village called Moivaro village, and it's a little village that kind of adjoins Arusha. And Arusha is the second largest city in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam being the largest. Arusha is the second largest, and it spreads like many cities do, and now encompasses a lot of villages on the periphery of Arusha. And one of those villages we happened to stay in was called Moivaro. And we stayed at a lodge there that had one time been a coffee plantation called Moivaro Lodge. And prior to the climb on Kilimanjaro, there was a gentleman there whose name is Livingstone, who's become a very close friend of mine. In fact, I call him Kaka, and he calls me Kaka, which in Swahili means brother.
Okay.
And he and I became very good friends. And before we climbed the mountain, he said, I want to take you lot out and give you a challenge, give you a test for 4 or 5 hours to make sure that you're actually fit enough to go on the mountain. I think at that age, I was, 50 something, 53, 54 maybe. And Keith, my ex-business partner, was 10 years older than that. So he wanted to make sure that we were fit enough. And he took us on a very intensive walk. I mean, we went up hills that really steep. I mean, it was quite exhausting. And at the back end of that trek, I guess we'd been out 4 hours, maybe a little over 4 hours. We were walking down a road, and I'm walking along with Livingstone, having a chat to him, having conversation with him. And on my right-hand side, up a bit of a slope, I see this lady whose name I now know to be Doris, was holding a little baby in her arms, and she had lots of other little children running around. And I said to Livingstone, I said, out of interest, I said, where does she live? Mm-hmm. And he pointed to this structure I took for a pigsty. And I'm looking at him and watching where he's pointing, and I think maybe I've got the wrong place. I said, no, where does she live? Mm-hmm. And I'm watching him again, and he's pointing to this pigsty. And I said, no, at night. I said, Livingstone, at nighttime, when she goes to bed with her children, where does she sleep with her children? And again, he pointed to the pigsty, and I said, you can't live, nobody can live there. I said, if it rains, they're all going to get wet. And it was like, I mean, in Australia, Stephen, we wouldn't keep animals in a shelter like that. And I kind of thought that's not okay with me. I just, it moved me. And I said, where's her husband? And he said, well, he was an alcoholic, and he took off. And he left this lady with these children, 5, she has 6 now, 5 babies, and living in these conditions that we wouldn't keep animals like in Australia. And I thought, that's not okay with me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do something about that. I can't now that I've seen that, I can't not do anything to help her. And that's kind of when things started. I went back to Australia. We did a fundraising dinner, and we ended up building her a house, which was a mud brick house back then. This is now 2005. We built her a mud brick house. And because we didn't make the summit of the mountain in 2004, we missed. I got altitude sickness, and Artie had to come back. So the 3 of us that went, none of us made it. But in 2006, we all went back. There was 11 of us that went back in 2006 to have another go at the mountain. And we went back to the house. The house was almost finished, pretty much finished. No furniture though. They were living on the concrete floor. And I said to everybody, okay, let's chip in $100. And we bought a furniture. And so that's kind of those years, 2004, 2006, is when that my thoughts about, okay, being able to help kind of happened. Mm-hmm. That's when that all happened.
I see. That's so. Did your philanthropy stop with building that first house? Was it over? Was that?
Yeah, mm-hmm. Okay. Really. And then it went on to another project that we went on to from that was buying chickens. I bought 250 chickens, and then the idea was that we would breed the chickens and sell the chickens and start a business really for Livingstone, my friend, so he could support the villagers and produce little chickens and eggs and things like that. Sadly, though, they got chicken flu and they all died. Okay. But that was a start, and I was, committed to helping, doing more. But being an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur has highs in their lives and they have lows in their lives. And following that, I hit a pretty heavy winter and ended up losing everything. Okay. And we kept in touch. And Livingstone, I said, look, one day if I can recover, I want to come back. And Livingstone kept praying for me and my business. And it was a challenging season. I went through probably 6-7 years of pretty tough winter, so I couldn't do any more than that. I couldn't help him. I couldn't help them over there.
Okay. And so tell me about because I know that that you certainly went through that winter. So how did you rebound? How did you recover?
So through a series of events, really, that I'd lost everything, and then I was introduced through a friend of mine who had been seriously ill, and we ended up being flown to America to look at this company that was not launched yet in Australia. I'm going back now to late 2014,
Okay.
So this company was going to launch, and they sent us. They took us from Australia to Utah, and we had a look at this company. And my friend, who was very unwell, I won't go through that on this chat, but he was seriously unwell. He was so unwell, Stephen, that the doctors in Australia had sent him home to get his affairs in order. That's how unwell he was. And so we looked at this company, this technology, and within 12 months, my friend was well. And that coincided with that company starting, which was early 2016. And I was I had nothing. I had nothing left. I had at that stage, I'd gone through bankruptcy. I was 130,000 behind zero. I was 61, and I really wondered, can I come back anymore? Can I come back again? But I started with it when the company started. I started, and it was just such a blessing. So I had built a very strong business in 3 years, and of course, so during that time, it then allowed me to be able to start going back and doing what I wanted to do back in Tanzania. So that's kind of the journey. And when I started doing incredibly well financially, I never forgot about because I'd given my word to Livingstone. I said, if I ever come back, I'm going to do more here. My job's not finished, provided I'm blessed again and I have the opportunity to be able to help others. Okay. I'll be back. And that really started again in 2000, and I think it was 2017, late or early 2018, maybe.
That's fantastic. You sent me some of your images, and I would like to share some and have you just kind of share with us whatever you want to say about them. Okay. Sure. So just give me a moment to pull them up. Can you see the image on the screen?
Yes, I can. Okay, so this was a house. So in total now, since 2018, we've built 12 homes, and look, as you look at these photos, they're modest homes by our standards, but during some of the photos, you'll see some of the dwellings, if you want to call them that, the places where these poor people have to live. But this is a house we finished. I can't remember, maybe a year ago, and so we furnished them with lounge suites and beds. And the houses that we built, Steve and I name after some of the founders of the company that I'm with, in honor of those people who, gave me the opportunity and gave my friend the opportunity. So out of respect, I've named a lot of these houses after the founders of the company and various people.
Okay. And
so this is another look at a bedroom. So again, they're modestly furnished, but these are palaces for the people of Moivaro.
Right.
When they're finished and they're furnished, they're literally palaces compared with where some of them have been living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's oops, I just lost my image. Let me see. There are a couple of others. Let me stop for a moment and go back in. But I do want to show. I think I lost it. Just give me 1 second. I'll try to get them back.
No problems. I'm sorry.
So how did that make you feel? That you were able to do this with Doris and her family.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. In fact, we've just finished her new house. So the original house, Stephen, that we built was started in 2005, 2006, and finished. And when I went back there last time I was there because of COVID, it was December of 2019. And we went back. I went back again to be with Doris, and the house was that's my friend Livingstone in the picture on the left-hand side.
Okay.
And this is the keys being handed over to I think this lady's name was Teresa, to the keys were there. And I like to go there when I can and hand over the keys. But what I was saying, when we went back in 2019, Doris's house, being made of mud bricks, was dilapidated. There was white ants in the roof. It was starting to fall down, and in a state of disrepair. And so I said I called my ex-business partner, Keith, and I said, would you co-fund another house for her with me? And so we've just finished a new house for Doris, made out of stone bricks rather than mud bricks. And while the mud brick house lasted, I guess, 17 years, these ones, I believe, will last probably 50 years.
Wow.
So this was when
is this one of the houses? Is this?
Yes, this is one of the houses. So that's Livingstone, my friend, on my kaka on the left, and this is a man. His name is Raphael. He's handicapped, and so he was not able to provide for his family, and so this was a house that we built for another family. So this is one of, I think it's 12 now that we built like this.
That's fantastic. And this is the same house, I believe.
Same house. I think some of the photos you'll actually see us working on demolishing their old house, which was kind of to the right of the picture. We built this house right behind it. So this was at the end of 2019. We went to complete this, and I actually took 3 friends with me. You can see the gentleman there on the right. He's a mate of mine from Queensland, Greg. He's an electrician. So we put solar power into these houses as well now. So they've got lights, lighting, which of course most of them don't have. And then I had a couple of other friends there as well to help. So my idea was pre-COVID was to take people on tour on safari. And the profit that we would make from the safari, because my friend Livingstone, that's what he does. He takes people out on safari, and we were in the process of setting up a business, and then any profit, we would put the profit back into building more homes. But of course, COVID kind of knocked that on the head and kind of suspended that. But I'm hoping to reactivate that in 2023. I'll head back over there probably April, May next year, and hopefully start to activate that. And my goal, Stephen, is to build 8 houses a year initially, because with 8 houses, the house takes 6 to 8 weeks to build, maybe a little bit longer. So I can build 8 houses a week, and it keeps all the building crews working as well. So it's not just the benefit for the people having the house, it's also the people that work on the roof, laying the blocks, the floor, the concreters, the plasterers, the people that put the windows in. So it supports a lot of other families as well while we build these homes. That's
just fantastic. Is Doris in this picture, or is this someone else's house?
No, this is somebody else's house. Actually, this is... I lose track because there's 12 now of all the families, but you can see my friend Johan on the extreme left. Then there's me. Then there's Raphael. I think his wife's name Teresa. And then there's Kaka, Livingstone, and my friend Greg, who's the Sparky. So this was the last time that we were over there, which was in December 2019. And this is just after the house was completed, and we handed over the keys to the family.
Right. That's great. That's a great service. It touched me when I heard the story. What was Doris's reaction when she got the keys to her house?
Well, the second time we went there, I wasn't there, but every time she sees me, she just cries. She doesn't know what to say, and she doesn't need to say anything. I don't do it because I want anything back. Of everything I do in my life, it probably gives me the greatest joy of everything that I do. It's great to have money. It is. I've experienced having nothing. When I went through bankruptcy and the devastation of that. But that's nothing really compared with how these people live. And I'm not naive enough to think I can change the world. I know that I can't. But there's families that we have changed, and we've changed their families, and their children now have a home. They have dignity. They have safety. it changes not just for now, but it also changes the impression of the children. And it's like the old story of the starfish. There's thousands of starfish washed on the beach, and well, you throw one back and say, well, what's the point? Well, it saves the life of that one.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like that. I get a lot of pleasure out of it. I get more pleasure when I can go there. And one of the things that I was setting up was that as part of people's safari, they would come over and spend 3 to 5 days working on one of these houses, finishing it off, planting gardens, buying chickens, buying goats. And one of the other things I do is to support them financially, so that they can have the goats and the chickens and vegetables, so they have enough to start selling them and generating an income.
Yeah.
They don't need a lot of income in Tanzania. The average income in Tanzania is $800 a year.
Whoa.
So, so they don't need a lot to live. And if I can set them up so that they can make an extra, $50 a month, it's not much for you and I, but for them, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my aim. And when one of them's set up, then I can take that money and give it to another family. So that's kind of the process.
That's amazing. Now, Mel, clearly you have, good business talents and instincts from what you've said about doing for Sari, using the money, the way you've expressed it. Why do you do network marketing? Some people would say that you've done insurance, you've had other companies. Why network marketing for you today?
Because many years ago, in the late 80s, I did very well in the insurance financial planning industry, but the price that I paid to do very well was to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, pretty much every week. It was just constantly hard work. A lot of the sales I was making were at night. And often I would leave home at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be home at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and probably cost me my first marriage because I was never home. And I got, after doing that for 10, 11 years, I thought, I don't know if I can do this, or I want to do this for the next 30 years. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do that. And a friend contacted me and explained that there was an industry that I didn't really understand, where if you could build it properly, that it would give you both the time and the money. It would give you the time to enjoy the money and the money to enjoy the time. And I kind of thought about that, and I thought, wow, how cool would it be to be able to set up a business that, when built properly, and it would take time to do that, that would give you a residual income that would allow you then to be able to create a life and have a lifestyle. And for me, that represented freedom. And it's been fantastic, the process. And of course, like many people, I've had the ups and the downs, and that's life. That's the nature of business. Businesses do ebb and flow, but the business that I've created with this company has been phenomenal. I'm very grateful. I give thanks every day for the opportunity. I've been in the industry now nearly 30 years. I'm regarded as a veteran in the industry, I guess, now. So I've seen a lot. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. But there's a lot of good. If you can find a good company, it's really good. So it's been very kind to me. Overall, it's been very kind to me.
Yeah, and you wrote, I think it's a book that's called 10 Things You Need to Know About Network Marketing Before Getting Started. What did you want to convey to your reader when you wrote this book?
I guess really that one of the things, being raised or spending most of my life in Australia, I'm what they call a straight shooter. I want people to realize that it's an incredible business. It is an incredible business, but don't be naive that it's going to take work, and it's going to take change, and it's going to take persistence. It takes qualities to be able to build a business like this. But here's what I know. Anybody can change, anybody can grow, anybody can develop. There is a process to that. There's a process to learning. I teach my guys in my organization about a lot is to do with personal development, self-mastery. It's overcoming our fears, our doubts, our tendency to procrastinate. And it's about finding something that you want badly enough, a dream, a purpose, a passion. But I wanted to try and convey that there are things that we all have to learn. And after 30 years, I'm still learning. I don't say to everyone, I don't have all the answers. If I did, I'd have a much bigger organization. But I've got some that will help people to get to a level of financial independence. And so I kind of spent a lot of my time teaching that, coaching that. Mostly, I think what we do in the network marketing industry is grow people. That's what we do. We develop people. We develop leaders, develop people, but it starts with me. I've got to develop me first. Exactly as Herman Lay said to me all those years ago, surround yourself with good people. But you can surround yourself with good people when you are good people. If you're good people, you'll attract good people. If you're not good people, you'll repel those people. So a lot's got to do with us and our ability to lead and help people. So that was, I suppose, just part of my contribution back to help those that are looking at this as a business, as a future, as a legacy for their children, which you can create with this industry if you build it properly.
Right. So does network marketing require, or let's say, how do I ask this? I'm trying to figure out the type of person who would be best suited for this. Would it be a person, for example, who has a graduate degree in business? Is that the kind of person who should do network marketing? Or can a person who is, let's say, a construction worker, should that person do construction and not? I mean, what type of person should consider this opportunity?
Well, somebody's not lazy.
Uh-huh.
You're not to be lazy and build this. Well, I mean, I have a Bachelor of Business degree, and when I started in the networking industry, network marketing industry, I remember going back to that was in 1992. One of the first seminars I went to, Stephen, which was in Australia, a gentleman came out, big hitter from America, big business, big networking business, and he said to the audience, there was about 3,000 of us in the audience. He said, if you're sitting in this room and you've got a degree and you're from a sales background, you've got 2 strikes against you. And I'm thinking, that's me. I've got a degree and I'm from a sales background. I said, what's he talking about? Why have I got 2 strikes against me? And I mean, I'm not so sure I agree with all of that, because I learned a lot from my degree. What I learned from my business degree was to finish. Mm-hmm. There's so many people start a business in networking, they don't finish. The money's not in starting, the money's in finishing. It's those that finish the race that make the money, not those that start. But it's the same in anything. When I began my degree, my business degree, and that was in I kind of lose track of time, 1977 it was, I think 1977. There was 33 of us that started the degree. By the time I finished, 3.5 years later, there was 3 of us left, 3 out of 33. Nothing wrong with a degree, nothing wrong with a course. Most people don't complete. You go to a gymnasium and join a gymnasium, as a lot of people do, the average gym membership lasts 6 weeks. Nothing wrong with a gym. It's the decision and the commitment to what? It's the commitment to your dream. It's the commitment to your life. It's a commitment to your vision. Is it going to be easy? Well, you're not going to create a 6 or 7 figure residual income if it's going to be easy. It's not. Right. But then here's the point. What is easy? And if you don't build this, what are you going to do? People say, what are my chances of succeeding in the industry? Well, my question is, what are your chances of succeeding financially outside of the industry? This gives anybody, whether you're a construction worker, whether you're a mother, a single mum, whether you're a foot surgeon, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, it's not to do with because people can change. Right. It's more to do with why would you want to build a business like this? Focus on the end result. And is that what you want? If I said to you, can you imagine in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, setting up a 6-figure or a 7-figure residual income? Describe for me how that would feel. Would that change your life? Creating something as a legacy, being able to help other people, doing the sort of things that you want to do. Is it worth the journey, the struggle to be able to get that? And for me, the answer was, of course it is. Then what you do is reverse engineer it and bring it back and say, okay, beginning today, what do I need to do? What's step 1? What's step 2? What's step 3? keeping in mind the dream at the end, but also having stepping stone goals. It's like climbing Kilimanjaro. You don't jump to the summit. You go up and then you go down. And then you go up and you get headaches sometimes from altitude sickness. Is it easy? It's not easy, especially not when you're in your 50s. You go up and you go down, you go up, you go down. But if you keep your eye on the summit, that's why I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Now, we didn't make the summit the first time, but we made it the second time.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's great. So your current profession then allows you to engage in your philanthropic interests, that is in Tanzania and elsewhere. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and that all came about. There's a very good book that if your viewers have not heard of this book or have not read it, I like listening to audibles. It's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. And when I lost everything, Stephen, when I lost everything, went through bankruptcy, I knew that I'd created that. I'd created the mess because you get life who you are. And so I had to go back and think, okay, so I've made a lot of mistakes here. I don't want my next chapter to be with the same mistakes. And so I went back to the drawing board to reinvent who I was, my thinking. And I remember reading George S. Clason's book, and he said, you start giving even when you've got nothing. You start putting money away even when you've got nothing. And so I started following those principles. When I started to come back, I started following those principles. I put money away into 10% into an investment account, even when I had next to nothing. And I started giving money away. I learned that lesson. The other one who's very competent, I really like his work, is Dr. Joe Vitale. He also talks about the same principles of giving, because when you give away to the world, when you give away to other people, you say to the universe, I already have an abundance. I'm expecting an abundance. There is an abundance. We live in a world of abundance. We have an abundant world. If you squirrel everything away, it means you're saying to the universe, I'm scared, it's a lack of. So I've learned to give, and really of everything I was, teaching my boys, of everything that I do, it's the most gratifying thing that I do, the work that, and long after I'm gone, that's probably the thing that people will remember. They won't remember my successes or the place I traveled to, but that will be remembered, and that's good. I like that, and I'm grooming my kids. Livingstone's got 3 boys. I've got 4 young sons at a similar age, and I'm working with my boys to continue the work long after I'm gone, so that this legacy continues. Hopefully for generations. I mean, that won't be my decision, but I'm hoping it will be. I'm hoping that'll go on.
That's fantastic, Mal. Well, look, I know that you're on a tight schedule, but I'm glad that you took some time to be with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, you've been listening to or watching the Possibility Action Network podcast with your host, Stephen Middleton. Our guest today has been entrepreneur and philanthropist, Malcolm Sword. Once again, Mal, thank you for being with us today.
Good on you. Thank you so much, Stephen. Really appreciate you having me on, and lovely to talk to you. Lovely to meet you as well. Thank you very much.
My